Next, please welcome our CEO, Mike Armstrong, to give his remarks.
Good morning, NCARB. Good morning. You responded, you are NCARB, right? Had some fun at the aquarium last night. I overheard people giving names to the sloth and to the sharks. It's not true that Bob Cavani wrote the jokes for the diver last night. They were intentionally lame, but they were sort of fun for those of you that saw. There aren't a lot of architect jokes out there. So I don't know what that means about all of you as a community, but we'll try to work on a little more humor. It's great to be with you. It's great to reconnect with some of you, and it's great to meet some new folks and some folks that some of us have only seen on the Zoom screen. So it's great to be back together in person. This morning, I want to talk to you about our path in the last 12 months as an organization. We've been working on refreshing, we've been working on reinventing, and as a result, we've been working on renewing. So I want to talk to you first, and I know this is sometimes foreign to you, but NCARB as a business. Certainly, we're a mission-driven organization. In collaboration with our member boards, facilitating the public health, safety, and welfare. But we are still a business. We serve a business need to our member boards and to the profession. And so if we are to continue to be a success as a business, just as you are as practitioners, we've got to lean into change. We can't be afraid of the future and stay focused on the future. So we intentionally work on evolution, so that we can continue meeting the needs of everyone, our member boards, our customers, and the public. We embrace change. We have our Go Further tagline that you've heard a lot, and we're dedicated to doing that for everybody, to help everyone to go further. And we are comfortable feeling and being uncomfortable. We have on our wall in our office, we have our organizing principles, our staff vision, of open, responsive, and restless. I remember when Mr. Ernie was president a few years ago, and he said, well, I get the open and responsive, but I'm not sure about the restless. I said, exactly. I want you to be unsure. We're all uncertain. Let's get comfortable with the uncomfortable. We are gathering feedback. We try to analyze situations, and we work on continuous improvement of our programs, our services, and our structure. But of course, this kind of a mindset is not without its challenges. But we use data to lead our decisions. We anchor ourselves to our overarching strategic vision, and we keep listening to all of our stakeholders. So with that, we can make forward progress. Let's talk first about our NCARB certificate. You just heard from Treasurer Marley in his report. This trajectory that we're seeing with our certificate is a confirmation that this core offering remains essential. And I just want to make sure that based on that financial presentation, that you don't get the misimpression that we're making money off of and we're making a profit off of candidate services. Our business model is that we run those candidate services in the red, like the ARE and the AXP, and we make up the difference through our transmittals and our certificate. In a sense, those that are licensed are paying it forward to the next generation, and that's how we're able to keep the exam costs at the same level they've been at for many years. So we have, just in the past 12 months, 3,000 new certificate holders. So this is a steady increase despite the uncertain economy. In fact, doing a historical analysis, it turns out that every time the economy falters, we see a bump in certificate holders. It's like a practice insurance policy. It ensures your mobility across the U.S. as you look for work in tough economic times. So we know that the certificate is a stable and it's a valued professional credential. So as Ed said, for the first time in our history, we've crested the 50,000 mark in certificate holders. It's quite an achievement on several levels. I think it's a testimony to the improved customer service we've been giving over the past several years. It's a testimony to the added value with free HSW Online CE, more and more mutual recognition arrangements outside the US, and a sense that it stands for something and it means something. It's an important milestone for us. Records. We have a strong candidate pipeline. We have over 9,000 new records that were opened in the past year, the highest we've seen since we first started requiring a record for all candidates in 2009. This reflects that we are bouncing back post-pandemic, and it's another indicator of future financial stability. We have a total of 65,000 candidates for licensure that are currently in the pipeline, keeping their record active, either actively reporting experience or taking an exam division. In just 2 years, since 2021, we've seen a 9% increase in candidates actively working toward licensure. Our transmittals. This is at an all-time high. We are continuing to see a demand for out-of-state reciprocal licensure. 11,000 reciprocal licensure transmittals in this past year, 3,000 initial transmittals, and we've implemented a new automated process for transmittals for those that are following the traditional path of graduating from a NAB-accredited program, doing their AXP, passing their divisions. This new system is giving us more time as we automate a huge chunk of individuals to deal with the more complicated problems. And I shared yesterday with our first-time attendees that we've increasingly seen with our customer service staff that people are calling it as much for counseling as they are for information. And so we are training up our relations staff on empathy, on listening skills, and on coaching skills in addition to problem solving. So by automating our systems, we're able to sort of pivot a little bit our focus on how we provide customer service. So our processing of transmittals, it's down from an average of 10 business days, which based on a few years ago, that alone is a remarkable improvement. We've gone down to 3 business days on the average, and many are now being processed in 10 minutes or less. So I want to congratulate our information systems folks and our customer relations for doing this. And in doing so, we're continuing to focus on quality and accuracy. So it's important for us to remain connected to our customers. You see Zoe there in the photo, one of our great customer relations staffers. Our day-to-day engagement has also increased. We answered nearly 50,000 requests from customers in the past 12 months, 50,000. Over 25,000 phone calls, up 17% from 1 year ago, and over 22,000 emails. So again, a huge lift for our team. Our community. Together, all these data points are telling us that our core purpose of what we do to facilitate licensure is still very much in demand. You heard from Ed, our revenue streams are stable, and our core services are being responsive to the needs of our community. Let's talk about how we're going further to continue to meet the needs of our candidates. So last year, our board of directors introduced a new vision for NCARB, and the new vision statement is ensuring safe places and spaces for all communities. Safe spaces and safe places. That intentionally has a double meaning. I think it resonates to all of you in a different way. We're very proud of this new vision statement. We as a staff have taken that new vision statement to heart, making sure that the path to licensure is increasingly more accessible and more inclusive. Let's talk about our free practice exams. So last year we told you we were going to launch this new program, a free practice exam for each division of the ARE. Not some of the stuff that you see from the test prep industry, but in real time, the exact amount of time, the exact same balance of different types of questions, and getting out of your system that weird psychology of what does it feel like to be under the clock, and how does NCARB write those questions anyway? And what kind of questions are they really going to ask? Getting that out of your system. So I want to report to you on what we think are some good success statistics here. So 69% of all ARE candidates are now using our practice exams before they take the test. And we have seen that candidates who do use the practice exam, on the average, have a 12% higher prospect of passing the exam. More specifically, and this links back to the baseline and belonging study that Bayless referenced yesterday that we're doing with NOMA, people of color, individuals who identify as Asian or African American, their chances of passing the exam if they take the practice exam increase by 17%. Those that identify as Hispanic or Latino, 16%. So immediately, these findings from baseline and belonging, which I always summarize as two impediments to diversity in the profession and attrition on the licensure path by underrepresented groups, cost and culture. Cost and culture. By offering these practice exams, we've immediately changed the conversation around cost. We were seeing that some candidates were spending upwards of $10,000 on test prep materials. $10,000. Add that on to student debt, add that on to other fees, that's really burdensome. And it's awfully attractive to say, maybe I should be working in some other profession where I can make more money. So we really feel like this is a game changer and really happy with the results of these practice exam statistics. English as a second language, another initiative addressing diversity in the profession. We also determined that there was a need to offer an accommodation for candidates taking the exam who speak English as a second language. Our data showed us that those individuals are being impacted in much the same way that candidates who have a reading disability are being impacted. It's taking more time. If you think about it, if you're reading something that's not in your native tongue and then mentally translating it to your native tongue, doing your answer in your native tongue and then taking it back and answering it on the exam in English, that takes extra time. It's not a comprehension issue, it's a language barrier. So our solution is that we are offering those accommodations are being offered as extra time, and you can bring in a word-for-word translation dictionary, not like a Webster's that tells you what the word means. People worried about cheating here. It's word for word. What does this word mean in English, in Spanish or French or any other tongue? Since we started offering this accommodation, over 1,000 candidates have been approved to use it. We're pleased to say that all 55 of our member jurisdictions are now accepting these accommodations, and we appreciate your quick work to accept this and embrace this new effort. We think that going further for all of our candidates truly is a collective effort, and so together we can demonstrate agility in evolving the way we regulate. Exam flexibility. So as you've heard and you recall, we moved to a new vendor, PSI. We introduced some new flexibility about rescheduling, and I want to talk about this for another moment. Candidates are really taking advantage of the fact that there's no rescheduling fee. More than we thought they were going to. Nearly half of all of the exams that are initially scheduled are being rescheduled. When we used to have rescheduling fees, only 5% were being rescheduled. We think there's a connection. This is a challenge for us from an accounting perspective. Those of you that understand accrual versus cash budgeting, we can receive the cash to schedule the exam, but we can't report it on our accrual budget because it hasn't been delivered. But the bigger problem is that other candidates are wanting to get a seat to take the test, and because they're being told the seats are full, they're having to wait. And then if half of the candidates are rescheduling, all of a sudden that seat could have been open to those candidates. So this negative impact on other candidates we think is a serious issue, and so we are going to be discussing with our board of directors a way to do a little course correction here. So we occasionally have to do a sidestep as we move forward, but we're prepared to address it, and you'll hear more about that in the coming months. The rolling clock. So you've heard that our board of directors decided to retire the rolling clock policy. They voted on this in their January board meeting. The data that we have previously shared with you indicated, no surprise, the rolling clock was disproportionately impacting certain groups, especially women and also people of color. So the board looked at the data, consulted with examination committee, talked to our psychometricians, and based on all that information, they acted decisively. In its stead, we have a new score exam validation policy. It bases the validity of when you pass the exam on the version of the exam, as opposed to an arbitrary number like 5 years. So as part of this change, we have reinstated 6,900 ARE 4.0 divisions that had been kicked out because of the rolling clock. So 69 divisions are now valid again, 6,900. That impacts 3,800 candidates who are now back in the game in terms of pursuing their license. 44 of our member board jurisdictions are already there in adopting this new policy. Of the remaining 11, we think 10 of the 11 will be ready by this fall. We have one more that we've got a statutory change that won't happen until next year. But everyone's worked really quickly through their regulatory process or their policy process, or in one state, a statutory change is happening as we speak. So we're really pleased with how we've worked together with you to make this happen, and thank you so much for your agility in adopting this new policy. We really appreciate it. All right, inclusion. And increasingly, we're also wanting to say belonging, as we've been saying for several years with our NOMA project. We've been steadily updating the customer experience in that NCARB framework that you heard Ed talk about, that we're investing a lot of money in, the interface that customers have with NCARB. We have updated our flow and interface to follow best practices in the industry. You saw that in the Treasurer's report. But we also did something else. We updated the customer system so that any of our customers can use what their preferred name is and their preferred pronouns are. This means that all communities belong at NCARB. It benefits a wider audience, and it's also for any of you that have gone by a nickname. How many of you have had that experience? I didn't know your name was such and such. You know, Davis, where are you from NCES? It's the first time. I have always known you as Davey. You're actually Davis. So do I have to start calling you Davis now, or can I still call you Davey? Okay, all right. So now we can use nicknames. A lot of people use their middle name, not their first name. We want to be respectful of who you want to be known as. That's really important. So we got some complaints from some elements of our communities about us doing this, but the number of folks who have taken advantage of it and the number of positive responses we've received outweigh any of the negatives. Over 2,000 customers so far have taken advantage of this new preferred name policy. Expanding our integrated path to architectural licensure, IPAL. So for the first time this year, we've welcomed historic Black colleges and universities into IPAL, 2 of them. This is another important step in addressing diversity in the profession and accessing an accelerated pathway where we're integrating experience and examination while you're in school. There's now 31 programs, 31 NAB-accredited programs at 27 different schools that are participating in IPAL. Over 700 students are currently in the cohort of IPAL participants. And we're continuing to expand IPAL, and we're also initiating some conversations about how community colleges can participate in IPAL. Our mutual recognition agreement with the United Kingdom. I want to talk about it from the angle of this expands the value of the NCARB certificate. It's already a mobility passport domestically, but increasingly the NCARB certificate is becoming a mobility passport globally. So we introduced this new agreement in April, and based on the interest here, I have to say we've seen more interest in this mutual recognition arrangement than we have in any of our other arrangements right out of the chute. So it's only been around for about a month plus. We've already had about 40 architects from the US wanting to go to the UK and about 40 coming here. We anticipate as we ramp up our outreach program, this number is just going to keep climbing. So we're really pleased with the early numbers on this. Future international agreements. So our economy is global. US architects have more and more opportunities to work overseas. And so if we want to keep growing the value of the certificate and facilitating licensure globally, we want to explore several other potential future mutual recognition agreements. Our approach to the United Kingdom paved the way for a new process that we have in place. Some of you may be aware that we have a committee of volunteers that looks at the possibilities of arranging with other countries. In the old days, we used to say, well, if you don't have something that looks like the ARE and the AXP and the NAB accredited degree, we don't even want to talk to you. Our new approach is we have outlined all the elements of our licensure process in the US at a granular level. Let's look at your country and analyze your elements at a granular level. If there are enough matching molecules on both sides of the equation, it doesn't matter as much how it manifests itself at the end. It matters what's in each of these elements. And so taking that approach has opened up a whole new conversation with the international community. So we've just finished with the United Kingdom. We are moving closer with Taiwan. We've just signed a cooperation agreement to start exchanging information with them. We're making some progress with South Africa and Costa Rica. I'm not saying that they're all going to happen. I'm not saying we're bringing a wheelbarrow of resolutions next year, but we're on the march. We're looking for opportunities. We're also pursuing new and important conversations with the Architects Council of Europe, which represents the European Union, Singapore, the Philippines, a separate bilateral agreement with Mexico, and India. These are still in the early stages. We'll see where it goes. But again, thank you to my team that works on international relations and to the volunteers serving on our committee. So, our customers are really engaged with us, more so than ever. Because of the progress we're making, the continuous improvement we're pursuing, this is opening up new conversations with our customers, and it's creating, we measure sentiment about NCARB on social media and other platforms. There's more positive sentiment about who we are as an organization. So for a moment, I want to explore with you what that engagement looked like in the past year. Our website is getting nearly 500,000 page views a month. This is a 51% increase in 1 year of people viewing our website. We saw a 4% increase in subscriptions to our email updates, a 20% increase on frequency of opening our messages, 5,000 new social media followers, and our reach, who we're touching, who we're engaging with, has increased by 41,000. So something's happening out there, and people are interested in what we're doing. Our staff is very good and very adept at embracing new approaches and new messaging. It's overall a really positive statement. We're right in the middle, actually rounding third and heading for home on our amnesty campaign. This is a forgiveness window for individuals who did have a record. They've let it lapse. Normally, they'd have to pay us a penalty or a reactivation fee to come back. For a limited time only, we are waiving that. So far, this launched on May 1st, just for 2 months only, we've already had 1,200 customers come back to NCARB in 6 weeks. The normal monthly rate of reactivation is about 100 a month. So we're getting 10 times the comeback on reactivation because of this offer. We believe there's a lot of enthusiasm. Professionals do want to be part of our community. Maybe some of them are just waiting for the right moment to do it. So we did this to align timing-wise with our new mutual recognition agreement, the retirement of the rolling clock policy. So we think this is going to create a new strong base for us for the future from a financial and a communications perspective. Outreach. So we've hit the road. We're back visiting schools and AIA components and other association organizations. We hit 81 universities in the past year, 37 professional events, and 24 conferences with our outreach teams. Advocacy. The demand for advocacy support is stronger than ever, and there's going to be a workshop on this afternoon. There are interest groups out there that are trying to make the argument that, to quote one person in our friends in Arizona, oh, we can just use Yelp to decide who we should hire. We don't need a license, right? Yelp can help us. This is a real quote. I'm not making this up. Thanks in large part to partnerships with AIA state chapters, we have tracked 220 bills across 43 jurisdictions. We've responded to challenges in 17 of those jurisdictions, and we've actually submitted testimony in 4 jurisdictions. So we are making sure that you, as the member boards, can continue to carry out your important work. We understand that the conversation today has to be about reasonable regulation. We understand that other entities are bad examples of regulation. We also know that if we can get data in front of elected officials, it's very persuasive. They usually say, oh, we didn't mean the architects. Well, then don't write a bill that washes over everybody, please. Amend that bill or kill that bill. And mostly we've been successful on that. Our volunteer community. Our volunteers are the backbone of NCARB. Our volunteers, and many of you in this room volunteer for us, working on everything from developing items for the exam to our governance work group to researching where are we going with the future licensure path. We have over 300 volunteers serving on committees this past year, more than 30 committees completing more than 60 charges that President Ward has issued. NCARB by the numbers. This publication continues to grow every year. The book gets thicker and thicker. At the end of this session, during the break, there will be a table with the newest edition for all of you to take home with you. We also will make this available to you online, providing over 100 charts and data visualizations that dig into our programs and services. Engagement, this vehicle, this platform, positions us to engage even beyond the NCARB community. This gives us a new opening to talk to the architectural and mainstream media, to talk to other professions, and to talk to the general public, including elected officials. It positions NCARB to be a thought leader. So looking ahead, where does this all leave us? As we wrap up this fiscal year, we are looking ahead to a really bright future for NCARB. We are going to continue to explore new opportunities and new areas to improve, and we're going to continue to listen to the needs of all of our stakeholders. Our foundation will be laid through the work of our volunteers, our staff, our national leadership vision, and through that, innovation will occur. We know that there are many possibilities for change, everything from the structure of our organization to the programs we offer. If we continue to work together, all of us can determine our path forward into the next year and beyond. Sometime today, if you haven't done so already, please drop by our resource tables. One of the tables features our licensing systems software. We have 4 jurisdictions that are already subscribing to the software program. You can't beat the cost. You can't beat the efficiency. You can't beat the ability to better explain yourselves to your governors and your state legislators and to talk to your candidates as well as your practitioners. Our friend Derek Hayes, who worked at NCARB for many years, is back and working on showing this system to you. So go say hi to Derek and learn more about it. We have a table dedicated to customer relations because there's always some of you that have a question about your record. So we're glad to help you. And then do pick up that latest edition of NCARB by the numbers. So visit those tables right outside by the registration desk. I'd like to close by acknowledging the great team that helps us get it done. They're the ones that push me every day and keep me focused on my duties as a CEO. For our administration department, Doug Morgan, our vice president, is here in person. If you'll just stand and wave as I call your names here. And participating virtually, his two assistant vice presidents, Rob Dickinson, our controller, and Margot Simmons, our assistant VP for HR. And also with us today are our meeting planners, if they would stand to be recognized, Kristen Ray, Alicia Massey, and Nicole Romes. Thank you all very much, administration staff. Our customer relations staff, our Vice President Roxanne Alston and her Assistant Vice Presidents Katrina Humphrey and Cassandra Walker. Will you stand and be thanked by the group? Our Experience and Education Department, our Vice President Harry Falconer, Assistant Vice President Jeremy Fretz, online, our other Assistant VP Martin Smith, and with us in the room, Ellen Cathy and Emily Anderson. Please be recognized. Our Information Systems Vice President, Ruel de Guzman, is here in person, and online we have his Assistant Vice Presidents, Parisa Ilchi and Kunle Olowoyeye. Thank you all at IS. Our Marketing and Communications team that's here with us today are Vice President Andy McIntyre, Assistant VP Amanda Pica, as well as Derek Reynolds, Maya Martin, Molly Mallon, Jenny Kowecki, and Austin Constantino. Thank you all, M&C. Our Data and Analytics Assistant Vice President, Catherine Matthews. Where is Catherine? Somewhere back there. And our Innovation Assistant Vice President, Patricia Romalo. Patricia? Online virtually, our Assistant Vice President for Organizational Health, Heather Coles. Our Continuous Improvement Assistant Vice President, Nathan Grabowski. Nate, where are you? Somewhere here? Back there? And our Executive Office, our Assistant Vice President, Vanessa Williamson, right here. Our Chief Innovation and Information Officer, Guillermo Ortiz de Zarate, back in the back. And our beloved Chief Operating Officer, Mary D'Souza. What a great team. So motivational, so inspiring, and we're so proud to call NCARB home and to work with you every day. Thank you so very much.